I'm going to take my flower by its topmost group node, and I am going to move it up so that it's just a little bit above my vase. Maybe I will move it forwards too, and depending on how big I think the vase is, I might scale it up. Heavier flowers will probably face sideways or even down. Lighter flowers will probably face up, so I'll need to do some rotation. And you may find it helpful to you to have more than one flower in your vase. You will of course have 4 different types, but even I can take this daisy flower group and duplicate it. Just rotate it around a bit, move it to a different point, and maybe I will scale this one down a little bit so it's just a touch different from the other one. We'll come back here, back up to my group node, and maybe I will even duplicate one more time. We'll move this over here, rotate this way, rotate this way. We'll make this one really big and move it up. And at each point I want to check and make sure that my flowers aren't interlacing with each other. That they aren't interfering, and that each one of them is lined up in such a way that it could actually sit inside the vase. That looks pretty good for my first set of flowers. Maybe I want to take this one, move it out a little bit further, and that'll give me more room as I go to position more flowers. But you want to go nice and slow. So, when I turn my daisy layer on and off, those flowers will turn on and off, and that's going to be really handy as I go to align the next group of flowers. That takes care of the position of my flowers. Now I need to make some stems. And this is, fingers crossed, going to be pretty simple. I'm going to start my stems with a very simple shape. I'm going to use a cube because the cube, as we saw when we made the petal, is a really simple, really basic shape, and when I press the 3 key, it's also nice and round. I'm going to take my cube and use my front and side views to get that cube to sit up in the bottom of the vase. I'm also going to take my scale tool and I'm going to scale it down so that it's pretty small. The bigger the cube, the wider the stem is going to be. I may also use my top view to Control D to duplicate. I've got 3 flowers, so I'm going to need 3 stems. And we might as well name these. We'll call this one Daisy Stem 01, Daisy Stem 02, and Daisy Stem 03. It probably would have been easier to name them first and duplicate them second, but that's what happens when you don't plan ahead. So I'll turn my flowers back on, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start drawing a CV curve. I'll use my front view for starters. I'm going to click on this cube here, and I'll start right at the very top of the cube, and then I will click upwards, just drawing a nice, slightly organic line until I end up right by one of my flowers. Then I'll press enter. This is curve 01. I'll rename it. We'll call it stem curve 0, 1. And now I'm going to go into Control Vertex mode. In Control Vertex mode, I'm going to use my perspective view. First, at the bottom of the curve, I see this little box. That's a good thing. The box is the first point I clicked, and I want the first point I clicked to line up with my cube. If your first point by the cube is not a box, your curve is upside down. I'll talk about that in just a moment. I am just going to finish aligning my curve with this flower right over here. Doesn't matter if it runs inside a little bit. I can afford to be just a touch messy here. And if you need to go through and turn some of your flowers off while you do this, that's fine too. Everybody's got a slightly different workflow, and one of the goals of this project is to help you build up the workflow that you like. Alright, that looks pretty good for me. So, if your curve is backwards, and when you are in Control Vertex mode, you don't see a little box down here by your cube. What you want to do is select the curve in Object mode. Go to the Curves menu and run the reverse direction command. When you run reverse direction, that will cause the position of each vertex to stay in place but to reverse in order. And now you'll see I have a little dot down here by my cube. That means my curve has been reversed. Now my curve is backwards, so I'm going to select it and run reverse direction again. And now I should see a little box, and that's what I want. So I've got this curve. It goes from this box up to that flower. Maybe it's coming up a little too high. Maybe I need to move this one down and this one down, and maybe that's going to give me a better angle. Good, good. I'm going to select the curve and then come on in here and shift select my cube. I'm going to hover my mouse over the cube and right click and go into face mode. When I'm in face mode, I want to add to my selection, so I'm going to hold Shift down again and click on this top face, and only the top face. So no other faces are selected. I can tell the curve is still selected because it's this white color, and that top face is selected because it's that kind of peachy color. And now I'm going to Shift right click and run Extrude Face. When I do that, Extrude will automatically extrude itself along my curve so it pops up to the top. Doesn't look much like a flower stem. In this case, what I need to do is I need to give it a few more divisions. The more divisions you give it, the closer it will come to resemble the curve that you drew. And there we go. Now I've got a flower stem. I'm going to go back to Object mode. I'll press the 3 key. And there it is, there's my first stem. I don't like the way it's connecting to this flower here, so I'll go to face mode again. I'm going to take this face and I'm going to extrude this face, and maybe I'll just tuck it up inside the flower. Maybe I will also scale it up a little bit so that I've got a wider base connecting to the flower. That looks a little bit better. And that completes my stem. So all I have to do for the other two is repeat this hopefully very simple process. Again, I can start in my front or side view. I am going to create, in my case, a CV curve. I will start drawing down here by the box and just draw my way slowly up to the flower that I like. In control vertex mode, I will come through and make sure that everything is in the right place. This one is a nice, easy one. I don't think I have to change anything. So that a little too easy? That's maybe a little too easy. Whenever I'm ready, I will select the curve, shift select the cube, go to face mode, shift select that topmost face, and then shift right click, extrude face. Now as I increase the number of divisions, my curve will come to resemble my stem. Whenever I'm happy, I can go to object mode, press the 3 key, take a look at the condition between the stem and the flower. If I like it, good. If not, I can mess with it a little bit. And then I'm ready to move on and draw the next one. So I'll finish this up with my third stem. Again, I'm going to draw a CV curve. I will go from the top of the box up to the flower. Then in control vertex mode, oops, might be time for me to reference my flowers. In control vertex mode, I can start adjusting my CVs so that they end up in the right place. That looks good there. Let's pull this over here a little bit. This one too. This one too. We want to be sure we're not interlacing with anybody. That all looks okay. Whenever I'm happy, object mode, shift select the cube, face mode, shift select the face, shift right click, extrude face, increase the number of divisions, and then adjust until you're happy. This one looks like it needs just a little bit more, so I'll go to that top face, shift right click, extrude, pull that up a little bit and scale it so that I get just a little wider at the top. That looks nice. When I'm all done with my stems, you'll see that now I have additional curves, so we'll call this one stem curve 02, stem curve 03. I'm going to take the curves and I'm going to put them in my construction objects group. These three stems are still attached to the curves by history. Whenever I'm ready, I can take them, delete by type history, and then nest them inside a stems group. If I need to rebuild one, the easiest way is honestly going to be to delete it and just make a new stem. It's pretty simple, and it's going to be easier than editing. So, when you're all done with this video, you should have a bunch of flowers inside a vase, which is great. I'm going to make one last video to talk about some final organization techniques, and then you will be all finished. Isn't that exciting? Your first project almost done.